There is a country where 54% of the population is under the age of 18. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, or the DRC, the future is literally in the hands of the youth. Today, we're diving into how Malembe Rise is preparing these young leaders to not only improve their communities, but also create innovative solutions that could change everything. We're speaking with the U.S. Country Director, Sarah Castor-Johnson. What sets Malembe Rise apart is their philosophy of walking with communities rather than doing it for them. They believe in going deep, not broad, by investing in people, not projects. In the spirit of their name, Malembe, which means slowly, they focus on sustainable, long-term change that grows from within the community itself. And with the conflicts and issues that the Congo has been dealing with, this is incredibly important. In this episode, we're exploring their innovative Club of Leaders program, which helps young people in the DRC develop the skills, mentorship, and resources they need to tackle challenges in their communities. But it's more than just addressing problems. Melembe Rise is creating opportunities for youth to not only improve their communities, but also to develop amazing solutions that could shape the future. We'll also hear about their plans to expand across Kinshasa and partner with vocational training programs to help students transition into the workforce, all while staying true to their core principles. So stay tuned as we uncover how Melembe Rise is helping the youth pave the way for a brighter future in the DRC by investing in these young leaders who are ready to make a difference. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Well, hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us from Melembe Rise. The first thing is I came across your organization a while ago, and I've been trying to read up on you and understand a little bit about you. And there's like these questions that I was really wanted to ask you, about how it all really started. One thing that sort of was shocking to us is we saw that there's an extremely high percentage of young people in Congo and in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I see that you all are involved with education and sort of helping these people to create a future. When we think about the developing world, there's so many countries that need help. There's so many people sort of struggling just to live every day. And so it's like, we sort of know that exists, but then there's also, we come across these amazing stories, like in your case, where there's people that are literally there trying to help people, trying to make things better for specific people. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about how it all sort of started, right? So the people sort of behind it, and then also sort of, up to date as far as what you guys are really about and what you're doing today.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. Appreciate this opportunity so much. How do we start? Well, I guess I'd like to say first that this is our 20th year, which is pretty remarkable.
Wow.
We're celebrating 20 years this August. But we started out in a really different kind of way. Our founder, she grew up in Congo. Her family, they were doing humanitarian missionary type work in Congo. So Congo was home for her from until she was about 20 years old. She completed her education in the U.S. But she later became an IU professor and stayed involved in this type of work, but her heart was always in Congo. And so 20 years ago, she started doing some research in Congo around teacher development, which is something that's really challenging and doesn't really exist, especially in communities where Melembe Rise is working now. There's not a lot of professional support for teachers. A lot of them are young and inexperienced and have just, small amount of schooling to be in the classroom and they're learning as they go, and they're just teaching. They're trying to teach to the test, to the national exam, and there's just a lot of need there for support. And that's the way this organization first started. It was as a research organization to figure out what are some ways that we can support teachers in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So over the years, we realized well, really, I say this over the years, it's only been 2 years, essentially, that we started what is now the Club of Leaders, which is an initiative focused on students. We saw over 15 years we worked in a different school, a first partner school, in the same community, which is pretty massive. So it's not a small community, it's a pretty massive community outside Kinshasa, the capital city. We started there, just working with teachers in the classroom, essentially, and developing a supplemental curriculum that would add asking questions and engaging critical thinking and all those 21st century skills that were kind of lacking when you teach to the test, So, we were working with these teachers, but what was happening is, we started realizing that this was really taxing teachers that were already working maybe 2 jobs, 3 jobs just to support their family. So this was like, now we're going to ask you to do this. And we just realized like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't the right way. And one of the great things about being a small, grassroots NGO is you can change, you can adapt. And that's the key to success, I think, and for most NGOs is how can you adapt. So we adapted the program about 4 years ago, where we took it up to be student-centered. And we started working with students directly. Our team of 3 and a half, 3 full-time, 1 part-time, educators on the ground, working in what they had at that point in time was, teaching gardening, like flat gardening, because there's poor nutrition in the area where we're working. And, so kids and teachers did a lot of research and developed these gardens. And then we saw these gardens kind of expanding out in the community. And we realized, wow, like when kids are learning, they're transferring that knowledge right away. And when kids are learning, teachers are listening because they're curious as to why they're catching up. Why is this working? Why are they interested in this? And so we found this incredible like wildfire of knowledge transferring to home, into mom. Mom is pretty much the leader of the house, and mom is going to make that garden herself in her own backyard. And we just saw how this was just so almost easy in a way, because when these kids were excited, we were watching how it transformed the community essentially. And that's when we decided that we would go to a new partner school, and this was in 2021, and start what is called now the Club of Leaders, which is a leadership program for young people, is out of school, is not in the classroom. We have lots of teachers that volunteer with us and then come. And then what's awesome is we're still impacting teachers because that indirect involvement is translating back into the classroom. It's been a remarkable program. These kids learn not only leadership skills, but they also have the opportunity to serve alongside their community members. So
when you say to serve, can you give us an example? What do you mean by?
When the club first started, one thing that I want to make really clear is that the students are really asked to determine the direction of what they're going to be learning. They're learning leadership skills all along in the club, in the meetings itself. The students direct the meetings. They have their communities that take care of the school grounds, that take care of setting chairs, all the things. Those are all done by the students themselves. But they're also involved in critically observing the needs of their community. So the kids break up into these little cohorts, and they go out in their community and they start talking to community members and what are the problems that we see? How do we address this? How do we work together? So the students will then decipher this. They kind of determine together what they're going to focus on. So 2 years ago, the first initiative that this Club of Leaders took on was a rather large one. They had sanitation issues in their community, major sanitation issues, with pit latrines everywhere, just really not a lot of great knowledge and how to curb flies or keep these clean and we all know that this is where diseases are spread. And so the students did a real deep dive, and they went to another school that was considered a green school, green as in like ecologically green. And they became so inspired by this field trip to this other school that they all came back and said, we want this at our school. How do we do it? And so these kids there's no well at the school where we work. And they have, you would think, very limited resources to take on a challenge as to making their school a green school, a school ground that was cluttered with trash, no well, a horrible restroom facility that is in total disrepair. And just make a long story short, they spent about 6 to 8 months researching ways that they could improve their community school grounds. And they brought the community in together on this and used local resources, all local resources, and not things that are bought. A lot of things that were just found in the community, like bamboo and things like that, to create 2 new pit latrine stalls, one for boys, one for girls, create privacy around those stalls, which didn't exist before. And a hand washing station, which is something that they're addressing more this year because soap is not very accessible in this community. So we have the students are researching some pretty remarkable ways to sanitize your hands using ash. So that's what they're studying this year. So we're really all about saying that the problems, like there's a lot of solutions and a lot of ways for young people to address community issues that are, they have assets themselves as individual students with great minds and innovative, ideas. And there's also resources in the community members, people who have experience, people who've lived here, people that know what's around, people that can walk along with them. So that's, to me, like the exciting thing about this is it's not just students. It's not just like a story about a kid getting a scholarship, which is lovely and wonderful, but this is really about young people taking leadership roles in their community and serving in their community with their community.
It's amazing. Just really want to give a big shout out to you guys and the team in Melembe Rise over at the DRC as well. Like, that's fantastic to hear. Sanitation, not a lot of people tend to think about it unless it's a problem in their own life. It's only an emergency when it's an emergency. To develop a sanitation practice, even just within a school itself, is quite an undertaking. And that's amazing that the student body is really leading that. And you're creating this young leadership club, which I think is really, really great because it develops confidence, not only with them, but it can help develop confidence for future leaders too, which can be a big problem. And, we looked on your website and when I saw this statistic, I went straight to Google because I was like, what? The DRC has about 99 million people in it, and almost half is under the age of 17. And so when you have that many children, basically some going to school and some not, I imagine, the majority of your workforce is including children. And so that in itself, to how your school can be sustainable with a child's involvement with their progress is a big testimony to what you guys are doing. But with the demographics being so drastic like that, we understand, for most people, I would imagine, understand that there's conflict and reasons why it is that way. But with these kind of demographics, what are you seeing with Melembe Rise and the specific activities you're doing with these kids with the demographic issue that's creating change for those communities? So what I'm trying to say is you got 50% of the population being kids and you're working with those kids. How is that changing the whole community in itself over a long-term process?
That's a great question. And I think I have to say, I can't wait to have a student having gone through this as a young person, like a third grader all the way through high school. That's like something I can't wait to read about someday, because this is really building into young people this idea that these kids are so innovative in their daily life. Daily life is a struggle where they live, and just making ends meet is a struggle. And kids are often involved in helping mom and dad to make those ends meet, get food on the table. And they have all these incredible innovative ideas. And so we're kind of creating this structure for them to practice those in service of their community. How is it changing things? It's one of the fun things for me is we had a story maybe a few months ago about a young, woman. She's, maybe 14, and she is coming to the club of leaders and participating and learning and having, an impact in the club of leaders itself, just from her insight and her thoughts and just her leadership. And, she doesn't even go to our school. She doesn't, she goes to school somewhere else. And so those teachers and the faculty at that school came to our school. Well, it's not our school, but this partner school that we're working at. I said, what is going on over here? Like, this young woman was so shy. She would barely participate in our group, little groups that people, study groups and things like that. She had a hard time speaking in front of people. She's really changed so much. We leave the club is open to everyone. We are in a partner school, but we do not we want any young person that wants to be involved. So to answer your question, how is it changing this issue of 50% of the population being under the age of 17? I think that it's just saying to young people, there's purpose, there's ways to bring about change in your life, in your community. There's ways to make life happier and easier. And, we can do this together. We're not in this alone. We can do this together. We can work in our community and bring change. Yeah. And these kids also get to have these, opportunities for field trips, which is something that a lot of these kids have never left this community. So they've gone on field trips. We've got more field trips planned, but just exposure and broadening their world and the insight of how much potential they have and the purpose that they have in life. And so, yeah, I mean, we're a tiny little organization, but I think we have a really bright flame.
Wow. There was something when you first said that they're going out into their communities and they're interacting with people, asking questions and talking to people. I kind of got chills a little bit, honestly, because I was thinking about the people, the young people here where I live. I live in Barcelona in Spain. And I'm thinking, wow, the young people going and talking and asking questions to the community is it's a mind-blowing concept here. So the idea of them actually doing that, going out there and literally talking to real people about real world problems and trying to form solutions, it's really powerful to me. And it seems like, I think about, how so many of the things that my mother was doing when I was being raised, she was just trying to figure things out, and probably you have, a lot of people a lot of mothers, a lot of families that don't have very much education, don't have very much experience in a lot of things in the world, and maybe didn't get a chance to even go to school. And you have their children probably bringing home all kinds of ideas and things that are new for them. And so in some ways it seems necessary, right? When you've got a huge swath of the population are young, it's like you need the young people to step up and be leaders. But the part where you guys have taken the initiative to make sure that that's what's happening, and that it's not just about, hey, let's solve global warming, right? But let's get us into a university in some rich country. It's literally about, let's figure out together how to make the changes that we really need the most. I mean, it's unbelievably powerful to me. And I really, I almost don't even, I'm in such shock. I don't even know where to go from here in some ways, but maybe, can you tell us, I think an interesting question, because you guys made a shift. You said in the recent years, you sort of developed this leadership program. And so what was it that you were really doing before, and how was it that you all identified that this might be a possibility of creating a leadership program and doing this? I mean, how did the need for that come about? Can you share? Uh-huh.
The shift happened essentially when we saw that the young people were more engaged than maybe the administration or the teachers, because they were already taxed with their own job, right? That they needed to,
sure.
And just trying to make things work. And while they saw the benefit, it was I think a burden in some respects. But I feel that it was a really powerful shift, because young people are so hungry for this. Like we have over 250 kids come on a Saturday to be a part of a leadership and service program.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Sorry, just whoa.
That speaks volumes for just their desire to be needed, to have this purpose in life, to have to take this next step, to be a part of their community, to be a part of the solution. I just feel like that to me is what keeps me going every day, is recognizing these kids are showing up and doing this work. We don't, as Melembe Rise, we're not dumping a bunch of money into this. We're actually extremely low in terms of how much money we bring in comparatively. We're trying to make this as sustainable as possible, which is why we really focus on assets that are in the community, in yourself as a young person, in your teachers, in your families, all of your business owners and doctors and all the things that people do. Like, how do you all come together and work together to solve these issues instead of, unfortunately, there's a post-colonial ideal a lot of times of like you're sort of ingrained that something's going to come and save you. We're not saving anybody. We're walking with our partners on the ground. We walk with them. We take the challenges with them. They are the ones that really do the work. So the heroes of this story are really these young people in the community themselves and are obviously our team on the ground that really inspire this to happen. Yeah, it's just ripe. Wow. It is ripe for it to happen. We have a list a mile long of organizations and schools that want to have a club of leaders. So we're working. Great. How do we scale this? What does this look like? Yeah. How do we get people to know more about it? So thank you.
If you're feeling inspired by Sarah and the mission of Melembe Rise, but we're still asking the question, what can I do to help? There are plenty of ways you can help right now. First up, consider donating your time or funds to support their initiatives. $1 a month, $1 a day, whatever works best for you. Every dollar and every minute makes a difference. You can find their website in the description, no matter where you're listening or watching this episode. If you want to get more hands-on and have specific skills that can help Melembe Rise, please go to their website and see about volunteer activities. And there's always the power of social media. Like, comment, and share this episode to someone else or to everyone so that they can also have the chance to take action. Every small change counts. Remember, together, we can create massive and positive change. Now, on to the rest of the episode for more inspiring stories from Sarah. And as always, thank you for being part of the conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's actually exactly where I was going to go with my next question. There's a guy out there, an author, and you might be familiar with him. His name is William Easterly, and he wrote a book called The White Man's Burden. And it's about basically what you were just saying, is just taking a bunch of money and just kind of throwing it at something and hoping that it'll, solve it, or raising funds and doing that, or getting a bunch of donations and sending it over. And that has reaped very little rewards, especially for the communities involved. And so what you're saying, which I think is really cool, because you even said you walk with these people. And I think that's so great to hear. Instead of throwing money at something, you're literally walking with them while raising money at the same time. But also, I thought it was cool, because I was like, what does Melembe mean? And Melembe Rise, from at least what your website said, it was saying that it means slowly, slowly. So it's kind of this one step at a time, walking with these people. And I think that was so important. And, let me ask you, I feel like the last probably 20 years, maybe less, you tell me, but we've been seeing a shift in organizations, really seeing that the white man's burden or the saviorship, as it were, in throwing money at something isn't actually really solving a lot of problems. It's how you do it, and it's more of a sustainable approach. And so do you feel like that you're definitely within the realms of going against, not against per se, but definitely not doing what Easterly was saying, was just throwing money at things, but this idea of what you're saying is like slowly, slowly walking with purpose and intention. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. That's the goal. And it's kind of the hard way of doing this type of work. It would be much easier for people to just go in and dump money and build a new school and build a new swing set, build a new bathroom, do all those things. But we all know that the other side of that is those things get broken. Those things need to be fixed. Those things, they're not sustainable. Things are not sustainable. We invest in people, not projects, but people. And right now, our focus is investing in young people and the community where they live.
Right. Yeah. I think about, I'm trying to visualize, right? So being so far away and trying to visualize what's actually going on there. And it's colorful, the images, I think about all these people busy, doing things and trying to just improve their lives, trying to make, their local world, you might say, a better place, which in turn makes the world a better place. And what I'm curious about is so you have the leadership program, you have these young people, but there has to, I imagine that there's like the Melembe Rise team and how you guys like really sort of first started to try to inspire all of this to happen, that there's got to be some key people that are where their enthusiasm and their energy, their desire for help. For example, if you could share with us again about the founder and because you didn't say her name, but the enthusiasm, I imagine, of people who see a need and want to help the need, and then once they start to take action, obviously these communities or this community is responding, right? Saying, yes, that's right, we want this. And so can you talk a little bit about sort of the team a little bit, about some of who are some of the players involved in helping this to really happen?
We've been really, really fortunate to have a team with us for over 15 years. Most of them, just 3 of the 4 have been there all over 15 years, which is really remarkable and not normal. We have our DRC country director. His name is Dr. Jerry Kindomba, and he is just a phenomenal networker and gatherer and just community minded. He knows everyone in Congo, I feel like. And matter of fact, we were in a conference in Miami, and you knew several people at this conference at Miami. Like, he's just a very incredible person who just draws people to himself and really is able to develop trust, because trust is essential in this type of work. We wouldn't ever be where we are today if it weren't for our team and the way that they've developed trust in this community. One of the biggest compliments that Dr. Kindomba would say is that the community says that Melembe Rise is one of them. And I think that should be the goal of every NGO working abroad in communities that aren't their own, is that you have such a relationship that you're not seen as an outsider, that you're part of the internal work that's happening in the community. So we have Dr. Kindomba is a physician, but he's transferred all that great knowledge and everything else into this, and he pours his heart into this every day. He keeps up with these young people who aren't in a program anymore for whatever reason. Maybe they switch schools and went somewhere else, and they come to him, they talk to him, they come back to meet with him. He has that kind of a role in young people's lives. We also have 2 full-time teachers that have been teachers for many, many years, 20 plus years, and they're remarkable educators. They also keep up with the families. They meet with families if kids are missing, like they do come to clubs for a couple of weeks. They'll go and find the family and sit down with them and talk with them, or answer questions. Or, are you nervous about something that we're doing? Let's talk about it. These are really impactful things. We wouldn't be where we are without this team. This team is they're central and core to what we're about.
Wow. Thank you.
What the overall message I love about everything you've been saying is this idea of empowerment, right? It's really just empowering, especially young people, to take on the big challenges. And, Demian and I have interviewed quite a few organizations. One that also came to mind was, oh dear, here we go. Demian, it's been a minute. The trees, the kids planting the trees. Oh no.
Yes, Plant for the Planet. Yes.
Thank you. I know it was a hard one to say. Right. It's like a tongue twister. Plant for the Planet. So that one. The Plant for the Planet is really empowering children to take the leadership roles rather than relying on those silly adults. And so I think it's so great to really approach children who, of course, have perhaps dealt with lots of hardship, but are inspired to make the change. And sometimes it's hard to inspire adults to make the change. They feel a little bit disempowered, and children are, I guess, an easier door to open when it comes to empowerment and really get them to feel confident in those ways. And that can also lead to inspiring the adults themselves. And so I think that's just a really cool ripple effect that can be created, and perhaps you guys are definitely facilitating. So again, just want to kind of give a big thank you for doing that for the young ones and for communities.
I have this tiny little story about that, but I don't know if this will land the same for you as it does for me, but I think about, so there was a mother that, the students recently did surveying door to door about ash. So they were asking the community, do you know what the benefits of ash are, essentially? And are you using them? How are you using the ash? Blah, blah, blah. So I loved this quote so much, that this woman said, I had to stop everything that I was doing. I was very busy, but I'm glad I did, because I learned something new that's going to help me. And I just thought, wow, I mean, that takes so much trust, so much humility, so much just to welcome students into your home, which is private and vulnerable, and listen to them, answer questions, and then be able to say, I actually really learned something that's going to change my life. That's going to make my life easier, at least, right? And I think
Yes.
that to me is like so cool. I love seeing these young people making these differences and impacts in relationships with their like elders, because that also is really like a unique benefit of this, because oftentimes it's separate from elders, right? Elders are just telling you what to do. But now the elders in this community really show so much respect to this club of leaders. It's been quite amazing.
Mm. Yeah, you know, so often, you know, like if people, you know, I think back when I lived for a couple of years in New York, and you go down, you walk in New York City, you know, and it's like when you basically avoid eye contact, and intentionally, because if somebody's looking at you, they want something, right? And so, and here where I live, like in the community, if somebody walks up to you, you know that if they start talking to you, it's because they want something from you. And the idea of you know, people opening their doors, there's some children standing there, probably think, hey, what do these kids want from me, right? But they're there literally to make the community better, to offer something rather than to ask for something. Yeah. And that's such a cool concept. So, you know, you mentioned earlier about scale, and I'm thinking there's probably, you know, because you're seeing incredible success, and now you're seeing, like you said, people from other, like leaders, you know, young people from other schools wanting to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure that the dream and the vision of what can happen in terms of scale has been something that you guys have talked about a lot, and I'm sure it's probably a pretty exciting topic. But can you share with us, you know, sort of, you know, what you would like to see happen with this program, how you envision that it might be able to expand in a Malembe fashion, meaning slowly, but how it might be able to spread and impact and kind of carry over into other communities and go from there. What is the vision? I'm sorry, I've got a fly up in here. What is the vision there for you guys?
Yeah. So I mean, definitely, like I said, we have a long list of organizations, churches, schools that would love to see a club of leaders in their community. We want to meet those needs. We're working on that. We're working on a facilitator's guide and training so that we can train. Because we also, like, I do want to make a point too, that this is not, while it is educational, we feel that anyone could be trained as a facilitator to lead a club of leaders. Any adult that wanted to do this, we could train them to do it. Again, this is not something that it's just more inclusive. Like, it's anyone who wants to make a difference this way. So we're working on that now. Like, how can we scale this in like you said, small ways? Because we never want to go too big and make that mistake. We're going to do this in our own time. And we're going to keep refining this club, you know, as we go. Like, what have we learned? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? We're always looking at that. But to answer your question in a broad way, like, you know, I would just love to see this expand across Kinshasa in both affluent and less affluent communities. I think any child could benefit from this initiative and from this model. And I also would like to see us have partnerships for vocational training, because I feel like these young people that are going to eventually graduate this program are going to be some of the most outstanding young people in Kinshasa. So, like, yes. How do we present them to that next step and help them just at least look at choices and opportunity that they have? Because we don't want this to atrophy. We don't want these leadership skills to atrophy. We want them to build on this. And we want to see them infiltrate the workforce, trade, politics, whatever they want to do. But we want to see this go further than just Saturday, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. This has been like really enlightening and very exciting things to hear about, and inspiring me, because currently I live in South Korea, and at the moment I'm also teaching English to little Korean kids. And it is really cool to see when they are inspired by something that's different from what they've been told from their elders, and how it can be something that it gets them interested to make change. for something that's pretty cool. It's a very small thing that I'm experiencing, but to hear it from your end, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's got to be like one of the coolest things to see. And so I really want to encourage everyone who's listening to go to their website, melemberise.org. And, I'm sure and we're going to put a link everywhere that this is being viewed and listened to go and donate. And what are some other ways that people could get involved with donation and perhaps volunteering? Or what are some other ways people can help support Melembe expand?
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, definitely donations are always necessary. I mean, that's how this work happens. Introductions to people who might be interested is always welcomed. We love to just build our network and expand and advocate for these young people in Congo. I also think, I just try to encourage people too to understand and maybe do a little bit of research about what's going on in Congo right now. Like what we are addressing in Kinshasa is very different than what's happening in Eastern Congo, and yet it's all connected. Just understanding that, the news media doesn't really cover what's going on in Congo today. You won't see it in the New York Times most likely today because there's so many things going on in the world, and this one's been going on for a very long time, unfortunately, and it's affecting millions and millions, 8 million people displaced in Congo today. So I feel like for myself, like advocacy, education, and definitely donations. We love donations, and we want to be able to keep doing this work. We want to be able to scale it. We want to reach more young people. We want to see this take off like wildfire. I do love our website. I'm not going to lie. We try to keep it pretty updated. We have like a news and updates, and we actually do post things in that. We're pretty real about keeping that going. But in terms of like social media platforms, Instagram's probably a great one for us. We like Instagram a lot. We have a lot of folks on the continent that follow us and DM me little advice and things like that. And I just think it's a much more active platform for us to share. And then kind of what you're saying too is putting visuals to what we're doing. That helps for people to see what this actually looks like with their eyes. Instagram's
Yeah, it seems to me, I want to just share, it's sort of like the way that I'm inspired by this is the way that it hits me is that I'm sure that other people are feeling something similar. I'm going to try to put it into words is that it's that sometimes, again, we're all in different places of the world here, and our listeners, a lot of them are in the US and other parts of the world. And wherever people are, it's like the ideas of what you guys are doing are ideas that are relevant in every community in the world, right? They're relevant in every person's life because we all, have young people in our communities. We all have people that are dealing with daily problems. And we all are, of course, and it's interesting. It's almost like being involved in this interview with you is like for me, it's like so much more valuable than opening up a book or an article and reading about something that's happening in the Congo, which would for me be very far away, right? Whereas this really makes it seem to me like something that is relevant and inspiring for everyone. And I would think that our listeners, that when we say, this is an amazing place to offer your support, to donate, or to offer your support in whatever way you can, it's because of the opportunity to learn and grow from the involvement with this, the involvement with the spirit and the energy of what you guys are doing, as well as the young people and what they're trying to accomplish. It's really, in a way, it's not just educational to the young people, it's educational to me as I'm listening to you. And I think this is going to be educational for anybody who's going to get a chance to listen to this podcast or to watch us. So I mean, thanks so much for all of it and the work that you guys are doing, and just keep it up. And we're going to hopefully try to inspire people to realize that there's something special about believing in people and believing in what people can do. And I think that you guys are really proving that that's it's not just a theory, right? It's practical, and it happens. It just takes effort, like anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Anastasia, do you want to take us home?
I will. Thank you. Sarah, thank you so much for being with the Good Viral podcast and telling us all about Melembe Rise. For everyone who's listening, please follow on Instagram. We'll have everything linked below, as well as the websites to go and donate and take action with this inspiring organization. Thank you so much for being heroes and facilitating more heroes in the world, especially in the DRC. And thank you so much for being part of the conversation.
Thank you for listening to the Good Viral podcast and being part of the conversation. If you are inspired by this episode, go to our website at goodviral.org, where you can find resources and listings from the episode to continue good efforts.
Like, comment, and share this episode to any or all of your social media channels. It's really easy to take a small action, and maybe you'll inspire a big result.
When good goes viral, the world gets better.